So where is the peace effort now going as far as Ukraine is concerned? Let's try and find that out. We have with us Sushil Kumar Singhal, foreign senior diplomat. Good evening to you, Master Singhal. What do you make of what's happening now? We've had the Western allies meeting together and saying that they can put together a force of the coalition of the willing. Apparently, they had a meeting, they had a chat with Donald Trump as well, a video call. Zelensky was also in the mix. But the reaction from Vladimir Putin, well, it's a long expected lines, but does it tell you where this entire conflict resolution process is headed?
Oh, well, when you look at what has been transpired in Paris in the coalition, 26th nation coalition of willing, with member of which has about 26 countries and is led by at the moment led by French president. They assure that they will provide support to Ukraine in terms of military, land, air, and navy, and training and weaponry. But when it comes to the troop deployment, they said they will deploy troops only after the peace is achieved. And as far as the President Putin is concerned, he's very clear. This is a red line for him that any troop of European countries is not acceptable. And he's outside, they say there's going to be a legitimate target for him. So that means it is a non-starter as far as the peace process is concerned. And when we look at the President Trump, what President Trump is saying is that I'm a broker now. I'm an honest broker. I'm trying to bring Ukraine and Russia together. On the other side, he's claiming there is a lot of progress. Of course, he's not able to spell out what kind of progress has been made. But what I see, the change in attitude on Russian side, is that President Putin is now accepting that this is a legitimate concern of Ukraine to have the peace, the guarantees, security guarantees. But what form it will take, he says that it requires more discussion, considerations. So what the point he is making is that the hurried manner in which the European countries as well as President Trump want to proceed with the peace process is not acceptable to President Putin, because he claims, he feels that the root cause for all this conflict are not being addressed at this moment. And when the European countries talk about putting boot on the ground after the peace, that exactly the fear which Russia has, that they will have the Europeans countries next to his border, which it's not acceptable to Russia. So, in my view, there is a possibility of peace, as the government of India is also saying, and as you just showed that our PR, permanent representative, Mr. P. Harish, spoke in UNGA, that peace is necessary, it should happen, and only way is the peace. War is not a solution. But I think it require a more nuanced approach and consideration of all parties' interest, core interests, which need to be taken into account. Therefore, in my view, every side has to give in some. And what it will be, I think it depends on the peace discussions which take place. So, looks like it's still a long process, and it will take time to achieve peace in between Ukraine and Russia.
Right. And what is the solution then in terms of what kind of security guarantees could there be for Ukraine if there are no forces, European forces or American forces, although American forces have not really been offered yet by Donald Trump. We do not know what exactly is Donald Trump or America offering. But if there are no forces on the ground from the western side in Ukraine after a ceasefire, what sort of security guarantee do you think will Ukraine have?
Well, in my view, which the one possibility which has not been considered, which nobody has talked about, is the UN peacekeeping. We already have a process for this kind of situation, which is we keep the UN peacekeeping forces on the ground which I think would be acceptable to Russia also, and it should be acceptable to Ukraine also. Well, I don't understand why the European countries, despite knowing that whole what is the issue, they are very keen to have the European forces on the ground. If I think it is this operation is conducted under UN, it will be acceptable to all sides. So, in my view, this is one possibility they should consider.
Hmm. But going with what's happening to with the UNIFIL in Lebanon, Israel has been dropping bombs on them recently. Do you think that is one course that might be viable?
Well, this is one, I'm saying one possibilities, but it can be improvised. Like, there was a proposal from Steve Witkoff that Article 5, like security guarantee, can also be considered. In NATO, they have Article 5 NATO treaty, which says that, attack on one country is considered attack on another. So that will give another umbrella to Ukraine without keeping the troops on the ground, that if there is an attack again, and so that the European countries and USA will take the responsibilities. And coupled with the UN peacekeeping forces on ground, I think that will be quite an adequate security guarantee for Ukraine.
Okay. And in the meantime, do you think Donald Trump could do something that could convince Vladimir Putin to come to the negotiation table? Because he has given deadline after deadline. The latest is expiring today itself. So, will there be some movement on that front?
Well, President Trump is saying there's some progress. So I'm sure they're behind the door. There must be some discussion taking place. And they must be trying to narrow down the differences. And the most important thing is, of course, President Trump has said that, there will be exchange of territory. So in my view, maybe some discussion is taking place, but President Putin, I think his view is that he doesn't like to work the manner in which President Trump works. President Trump like to get involved in the nitty-gritties. President Putin doesn't want to get involved into nitty-gritties, and he wants the officials to finalize the deal, and then he will have a meeting with the Zelensky and other leaders. So something on that line, I think it has to be done, and it makes sense also, because just a meeting at the highest level without any result doesn't make sense. So some groundwork should be done, and then only the meeting should take place. And I think when President Trump says that there is a progress, so maybe he's indicating in that direction, in my view. But knowing President Trump, very difficult to predict what he's meaning.
And what more can be done by the West, if not the US, then other Western allies of Ukraine, particularly in Europe, to mount further pressure on Vladimir Putin? Because right now, of course, the kind of offering that he's made, that Zelensky can come to Moscow to speak with me one-on-one. Zelensky has said that he's almost equated to a joke.
Well, this is what it is. That is what I think. The groundwork needs to be done. When President Putin is under pressure, he's just saying that okay, come and talk. So again, I'm saying that European countries, if they want, they can have actually it is the officials who need to get involved in the discussions to work out the peace process or the peace agreement, and what are the terms of that, which all sides have to agree, and then the leadership should meet and finalize everything. So European countries, at the moment, the way they are going about is that they are, on the one hand, they're talking of arming Ukraine and promising that they will continue the fight, and then other side they're looking at USA to bring about the peace by imposing by putting pressure on Russia, or by imposing sanctions. So I think this whole approach requires some finesse, and they need to come around what really they plan to do. Because at the moment that they're going about it will not yield much result, in my view.
And what does this post by Donald Trump on Truth Social tell you about his lament of how America seems to have lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. What does he seem to be talking about? I mean, how seriously should one take these comments?
Well, the tweets or the statements on Truth Social by President Trump, they keep changing. And on the face value, when we look at it, it seems that President Trump has realized that his policy of trying to keep Russia away from China and India, trying to having a normal relation with China, that policy has failed from his side, and he's feeling that they are coming closer, they are coming together rather. So, and they're getting in the embrace of China, which I think is very, very, if I can use the term, I don't want to use that term. Well, I think it's not very well thought out comment on the
Thankfully,
part
he
of
said
President Trump.
only losing, because in the context of when there was the meeting between President Xi and President Putin, as well as Kim Jong Un, he said conspiring.
Yeah. So that is what I'm saying. It's not, when he's putting out the tweet, maybe he's not reading them, after putting it. So after typing, or maybe he's, so he doesn't know what he's really sending out. So because as a president, if there's some leaders are meeting, that doesn't mean that everybody is conspiring against him or against USA. Well, there is a normal, conversation. They're obviously, when they're participating in a victory parade or they're meeting some international fora, multilateral fora, naturally the leader will meet and talk, joke also at times when they are comfortable with each other. So that doesn't mean they're, talking or working against any particular country. So it's that's sort of like, he should read his tweets carefully before, putting it out in public.
Yes, and India has very forthrightly, the External Affairs Ministry today has very clearly said that it rejects the kind of comments that have been made by Peter Navarro as well about India. But we still have people like Howard Lutnick saying all kinds of things on American media.
Well, what is happening at the moment is that kind of advisor unfortunately, kind of advisor President Trump is having at this moment. I think they're just taking cues from their leader and making inflammatory statements, I would use the term, to indicate their loyalty to their leader. And in the process, they're not realizing what they are harming the relationship, India-US relationship, which has been nurtured by the all administration for last 20, 25, 30 years. So, in my view, these statements are not actually against India, but they are meant to please, in their view, to their leaders. So,
but let me take you back to that Truth Social post about losing India and Russia to deepest and darkest China. Is it some sort of Freudian slip also by Donald Trump? He's sort of admitting that his foreign policy, his tariffs have failed?
Well, it's indirectly, yes, he's admitting that this policy of coercion has not worked and is not working with India, because it's a big setback for him actually when we look at it, because other countries, when he did the same kind of policy or same kind of threat, they have not worked with India. India has stood its ground and said that we are not going to give in to the coercion, and we will work as per our whatever our national interest dictate. And we are all for the multipolar world, and we have a strategic autonomy, which is to the President Trump. I think he is not able to understand that when India says that we are having our strategic autonomy or options or freedom of options wherever we want to do, to whomsoever we want to do business. So he is not able to understand, because he thought, or maybe still feels, that his policy of giving threats and everybody giving in to his threats will work and should work with India also. Maybe he's getting very, very frustrated with his failure to achieve his objectives.
Right. Well, for the moment, it sounded like a class bully has been put down by others. But let's see which way things go, because out of it, there is still some hope of getting to peace where Ukraine is concerned. But getting a sense of normalcy anywhere these days is a fairly remote thought when things like these keep happening every now and then. Thanks a lot for joining us, Ambassador Singhal, to talk about it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.